is the sound weird?
Oh, there.
No, I can hear it.
It's good?
Yeah.
All right. Because I am recording this for the kids who are at Model UN. I'm on this like 17 times. There's like multiple pictures of me. All right. So let me wait till you see. This is kind of crazy. So we're not going to do the lab because I want everybody to be here for the lab because the lab is so fun. But I need to find out who's not going to be here on Saturday because of ACTs. Or Saturday?
Wait, if they give us, remember that day they gave us off because of SAT? They give us ACT day off or no?
Not usually. So
Natalie said she was taking it. I won't be here for Molly, but.
okay.
And is anyone else?
Anybody else not going to be here Saturday? KJ.
I won't be for Model UN.
Okay. What about Namya?
I'll be here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. What?
Monday?
Oh, yeah, Monday's a double. Yeah, that would make more sense. Okay. So today we are going to go over some problems and then just like keep moving on. All right. So if you can get your packet problems so we can go over the problems you've already done and then see how you did with those. And then we'll start talking about other things in non-Mendelian genetics, including sex-linked, which I think one of the problems was a sex-linked problem that you probably didn't know how to do. That was like the color blindness one. Did you have to do that problem? Yeah, that was my mistake. Yeah.
I made the pedigree, but I just couldn't find the probability.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was 0, right? Because there can't be a guy that is 25.
Yeah, I think it's 1 and 4. We'll go over it.
Yes, I said it was
25%.
So let's look at question number 1, the answers. So for a red plant crossed with a white plant, you would see all pink in the offspring. What page is it? G46.
Write it as like 100% RW.
Yeah, but you should, because they're asking you for phenotype, you should say what they look like.
Wait, so it doesn't matter if you do the ratio or can you just say all pink?
All pink, I think you have to say, because they might not know what this means phenotypically. So to be safe, you could say like 0 red to, 1 pink to 0 white, because you don't have those other phenotypes when you cross a red and a white. All of them are going to be pink. I did them. Did you do them with R's and W's, or did you do big R's and little W? I think it's easier to do it that way. A white crossed with a pink plant, that will be big W crossed with RW gives you half pink, half white, or you could say 1 pink to 1 white. Yeah? Yeah. Then you've got red crossed with pink would give you half red, half pink. And 2 pink plants will give you a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. 1 red to 2 pink to 1 white. How'd that go? Good? All right. And then if we look at question 2, if you cross a long-tailed cat and a cat with no tail, you get all short-tailed cats. B, you get 1 long to 1 short, or half long, half short, 1 to 1 ratio. If you cross a short and a cat with no tail, you get half short, half no tail. 2 short-tailed cats, you get a 1 to 2 to 1. 1 long to 2 short to 1 no tail. When you think of incomplete dominance, think about like incomplete as almost like an intermediate, where the hybrid is an intermediate between the 2 other phenotypes. So you've got long tail, you've got no tail, so short tail is in between. Okay? All right. So then you had to do the blood typing ones, right?
Yeah.
Bless you. KJ, do you need your computer, or is it?
I forgot my iPad.
Oh, it's uploaded. Do you need your computer? No. Thank you. So question 1, you should have gotten one AB to one B type, and phenotypically one IA IB to one IB little I. Yeah?
I guess like said 2 2 for all those. Just like that's right, but like she just do one.
Yeah, but 2 what to 2 what?
No, like I said 2 I B.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. You could do 2 to 2.
Wait, is it okay if I did like, instead of like A and like with the eyes, I did like A O and B O?
Yeah, I've seen that sometimes. Usually the way we write it is with the I's. Okay, so I just want, because some people, instead of doing a little I, they do an O. I've seen it both ways, but typically AP does it with the I's and the A's. Okay? Man with type O marries woman AB. Offspring, half will be IA little I, half will be IB little I, but phenotypically, half will be blood type A, half will be blood type B. Question 3, you get half are IB little I, half are little I, so half are type B, half are type O. Did you get that right? 4, you get one of each. You get one B, one A, one AB, and one O. You get a mixture of everything. The probability that a couple whose blood types are A, B, and O will have a type A child, that's 1/2. Did you get that? Yeah? Namia and Tegan, any questions so far?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Couple has a child with type A blood. If one parent is O, what are the possible genotypes of the other parent? The other parent could be one of these 3 things. They could be IA little I, they could be IA, or they could be IA, IB. Did you have all 3 of those? Yeah, as options?
Wait, what's the third one?
AB?
IA, small I, and then IB.
Mm-hmm. So here, you got to be careful because the question is asking you for genotypes. What are the possible genotypes of the other parent? Sometimes they'll try to trick you and like give you the answer of like type A, type B, type AB. If they're asking genotypes, it's the letters. If they're asking phenotypes, it's the blood type. Okay, just remember that. You didn't have to do sex-linked traits, but you had to do the one that's like the
Genetics to help.
yeah, to solve the mysteries. I don't know if I have that one here. Is it like 4312 or something? What are the babies? What's the answer? Which parents? What'd you get for the parents?
4 babies are A, B, O, A, and B. And then parents 1 are like O and A, B. Parents 2 are A, B, and B.
Parent 1 is type B.
Yeah, parent 2 is AB.
Yeah,
Parent 3 is O.
three is O, and
Parent 4 is A.
Okay. What's it called? Using genetics to solve problems? Mysteries?
To help solve mysteries.
Hold on, let me see if I can find. Seeing if I have this already scanned, like my. Maybe not. Key. I don't have it. It's like a number though. You had to say which, like couples
Yeah.
had which kids.
Where's there like multiple options for each?
Yeah, but you could whittle it down and use process of elimination. Yeah. So using genetics to help solve mysteries. You have baby with type AB blood had to be from parent couple number 2.
Yeah.
Baby with type B, so it goes 2, 1, 4, 3. Is that what you got?
That's what I got.
Right? Baby
Are
with
there
type.
not multiple options for each of them then?
No. Because, hold on, let me scan this.
Some of them I think could go to multiple, but then like another one could only go to one.
Yes.
Had to.
You'd like pick one for each. Okay.
Yeah, like it could have, but
I
each
just, like, wrote
one.
all of the options that could produce that hit.
It's like there were only 4 babies and
Yeah, 4
parents,
babies,
so
four.
it's not.
Hold on, let me scan this and send it to my iPad. Save. Hold on. Share. A copy. AirDrop. Ooh, wants me to send it to KJ. Your AirDrop is on.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Come on. It says it's waiting. Why won't it go? Do I have to do something here for AirDrop? Nope. What if I... Sorry, guys. I just want to be able to show it on the board. All right, send it to that. Okay, I received that. Give me a sec. Downloads, scan, and then I can send that. Let's see if I can send it. I don't know why it doesn't want to go to my iPad. Come on. Nope. Give me a sec. I'm going to text it to myself. It should work. Okay.
It says
This
no.
is not delivered.
Oh, for the love of God. Something going on with the interwebs? No. Is it me? Try again. Are you guys having internet problems?
I think mine's fine.
All right, well, I guess I'm not going to show it then. That's okay. Yeah, it won't go. So, let me just go back to this. So for number 1, like the parent number 1 could have A children or B children, right? Couple number 2 could have had an AB, an A, or a B child. Couple number 3 could only have O. Couple number 4 could have A or O, but because 3 had to be the O parents, that means 4 has to be the A parents. If 4 has to be the A parents, that means 1 has to be the B parents. And if all that is true, that means 2 has to be the AB. Yep. Okay, great. Oop, I'm missing my little friends. So then, let's do the problems on the back. So we'll talk a little bit here about doing sex-linked traits. So you have, I would make a pedigree. We talked about pedigrees?
Yeah.
Okay, so here is my grandfather. And he was colorblind, X little c y. That's how you do it with sex-linked traits. Yeah, because it's only found on the X chromosome.
Do you color
You don't
this
color
word?
it like
I would color him in, but I've got to figure out genotypes. So he is colorblind. My grandmother was not. Then there was my uncle and my mom, and she married my dad, and they had, this is what your pedigree should look like, 2 daughters. I'm oldest, so that's Mr. H, and we went boy, boy, girl. Okay? So that's what the pedigree would look like. And then you have to start giving letters. And when you do a sex-linked trait, all the males get what? Yeah, they get an XY. All the females get 2 X's. So you can do that first. So you could give all the females 2 X's and leave some space because you're going to have to put little superscripts. So my uncle is XY, my mom is XX, my dad is XY, my husband is XY, that's me, there's my sister, XY, XY, XX. So my grandfather was colorblind, and it's actually very interesting because he was a captain in the Navy during World War II. You guys see that movie with who's Forrest Gump? Tom Hanks, and he's like the captain of a.
Oh, like captain's like that. I saw the trailer
I think it's called Greyhound. It's called Greyhound, and he's the captain of like a ship that protects all the oil tankers. So my grandfather was the captain of an oil tanker, and he was like 23 years old. He was like the youngest captain in the Navy during World War II, and he was colorblind, and they didn't know it. And he tricked them because they tested you in the olden days. They would test you in a way that so in sailing, you have to like know these flags, and there's like different colors, and that you use them to like do SOS and all this stuff. And so his color blindness, he was red-green colorblind, so he would just memorize like the shapes and like the shades of like weirdness. So he tricked them, and they never knew that he was colorblind. Now you can't trick people because they give you those tests where you can either see the number. They'll say like, what number do you see? And if you see a 6, that means you're colorblind. If you see a 22, it means you're not. So there's no way to like he wouldn't have been able to do what he did. So he was colorblind. My grandmother was not colorblind. So for everybody who is not colorblind, you're going to give them a big C. All right? So she's not colorblind, but she could be a carrier. We'll see. We don't know what her second letter is. So let's talk about my uncle. He is not colorblind. He is XY. So what is his X? What do I give him for his X? He's a big C. Why isn't he colorblind? Why didn't he get the colorblindness from his dad? Yeah, he's male. That means he had to get the Y from his dad. This is why you see these things like jump generations. For a son, think this through for a second. How could it have been possible if Uncle Steve, my Uncle Steve, R.I.P., if Uncle Steve was colorblind, how would that be possible? How could it? His dad was colorblind. How could Uncle Steve, this guy, right?
His mom.
Yeah, she would have to either be a carrier or be colorblind. Does that make sense?
Wait, but if we added the C, doesn't that mean she's a carrier?
That's a big C.
That's a big C. We don't know what her second letter is, but we know she's not colorblind.
So for it to be filled in, you have to be like colorblind. You could be like an empty circle with carrying the G.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So now my mom is not colorblind. So we know she's X big C. Do we know her second letter?
No. But we can kind of guess. Yeah, we know. If 100% of her kids don't have it, small C.
Think about it. Look at her parents.
Big C.
She got one from her dad.
Yeah, she's female. She had to get the rotten C from her dad.
What?
Oh yeah.
Because she got the big C from
She
her
got the
mom.
big C from her mom. She got,
Yeah.
for her to be female,
But her
she,
mom, we know what it is. It's big X, right?
But you don't know if
we don't know if she's a carrier. There's no way to know if she's a
Can't be
carrier.
like,
She would have had to have a lot more children.
yeah, but 2 for 2 kids though, that's not enough.
No.
Okay.
If she had 8 boys and none of them were colorblind, because her sons would have, if she carried the gene, half of her sons would have been colorblind.
She only had one son.
She only had one son. So my mom has to be a carrier. Do you see why? Because her dad to make her female, he had to give her his X chromosome. His X chromosome has the colorblind gene on it. That's what makes her female. So you could color her in halfway. Sometimes people do that on pedigrees, but phenotypically you wouldn't know she's a carrier. You know? Genotypically we know she's a carrier. So she married my dad, and they only had daughters. If they'd had a son, all right, let's do a pretend son. What would be the likelihood that my parents would have had a colorblind son?
1.5.
You're wicked smart. Would have been 1/2. Because for them to be a son, my dad would give up the Y. But if it's a son already, if we already know it's a son, that means he gave up the Y. So a son would be 50% of her sons would have gotten the colorblind gene, 50% would not have. So if they had had sons, 50% of them would have been colorblind. You can do a Punnett square with these, and you have to be careful with these questions because it might say what percent of their sons. So it would be 50% of their sons. But if it was what percent of their children would be colorblind. So the way you would do this is X big C, X little c. My dad is X big C. C's are annoying because they are hard to tell big from little. So in looking at this cross here, I could say in the cross between my two parents, half of their daughters would be carriers and half of their sons would be colorblind. You thinking that through, Henry? Because look at, the daughters are at the top. This is a carrier daughter. This is a totally normal phenotypic daughter. And half of their sons would be colorblind. How would it be possible for a daughter to be colorblind?
They both have to have one. Like the dad has to be colorblind, the mom has to be carrier or be colorblind.
Exactly. Make sense?
Yeah.
So then here's me and my sister. So neither of us is colorblind, so we both got a big C. We don't know what that second letter is. What is the probability that my second letter is a little c?
1/2.
1/2. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a daughter. 1 out of 2 of the daughters. So it's a 1/2 probability, because I'm female, that I got my mom's colorblindness gene, which is her father's colorblindness gene. You falling asleep? Go get a mint. Okay. Mr. H is not colorblind, so what's his letter? He's a big C. Why?
Because he'd have to show whatever that is.
Yeah. If he had a little c, he would be colorblind. So Mr. H gave his Y to our boys.
Yeah.
What is the probability that my sons are colorblind?
1/2.
So if I got the little
One of
c,
your sons,
Oh,
right?
so 1/4.
so if I got it, it's 1/2. And then if I look at my sons, if I have it, so it's an and situation. I had to get it, and they had to get it. That would be 1/2.
Is it also an or because there's 2 of them?
Uh,
It says what's the probability that one of Miss H's sons? So I said, if there's 2, I said 1/2 times 1/2 for one kid, then 1/2 times 1/2 the other kid, and then add them because it's.
Oh,
one
that
of
half
Miss
of them?
H's sons.
Yeah, one
If
or
there's-
the
if
other.
there's
Yeah,
2,
yeah. The answer could be a half, that one or the other, or it's 0, right? Because if I didn't get the gene, then nobody's getting it. So we thought this one was colorblind, but it just took him longer to learn his colors. He was a little slow on the colors. We were like, oh, he's colorblind. Nope, he was not. He was just, it was just a little harder for him. So,
I have a question.
yeah,
Like, if you say what's okay, like if
I only
you're
had
talking
2 boys.
about one kid now, though, like, what's the chance that you have a son that's colorblind, like, without knowing you already have
Yeah.
a son? Would that not then be like 1/4 of the options?
Yeah, that gets tough because if you do the cross between me and Andy, assuming, let's say I had it, big C. Oh, I should do big C first and then little c. So if you assume that I have it and he's got the big C, Y, X big C, X big C, X big C, X little c, X big C, Y, X little c, Y. So if you already take into account the 1/2 that I'm a carrier, then the probability that one of my children has it, that's 1/4. So it'd be 1/4 times 1/2, which would be 1/8. That has to happen, and this has to happen. It's not a great question. I don't think they would ever ask you one like this because there's too many like variables. So what if who would prove whether or not I'm a carrier in this situation here?
Your kids.
Which kid? My daughter. So if I'm a carrier, the boys didn't get it, but if suddenly one of her kids shows up colorblind, then I'm a carrier, and that meant she's a carrier.
Yeah.
So, or it might be gone. My sister had a boy and a girl. The boy isn't colorblind, but again, she only had one kid. So who knows? We'll see generations down the line. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right, question number 2. You're called in to testify. Mother's possible genotypes. Did you get IA, or IA, little I?
Yeah.
Father's possible genotypes, little I. Child's possible genotypes, IA, little I, or little I. So they could be type A or type O.
Wait, I thought the child was type AB.
Yeah, it's just type A.
Well, that's, I think.
So it was asking if.
Oh, yeah. So the child can't be theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the answer is it can't be.
The father
can't be the
can't.
Right.
Because they don't have an IV.
Yes. Yep. So with those 2 parents, the child's possible genotypes are only A and O. So they can't have an AB child.
Yeah.
So the dad can't be the dad. Or the child might not be theirs. What if they got switched at birth? That'd be terrible. What if the child was also type O? What does that tell you about the genotype of the mother? The mother must be IA, little I. And the dad is little I, so the child could be little I. Tegan and Namia, are these going okay for you?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Mm-hmm.
Is this helpful?
Yeah, it is. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So that's that. That was it, right?
There was 5.
Yeah. All right. So let's.
You didn't want us to spin it, right?
No. So let's go to the notes. We talked about the blood typing and we talked about RH and RhoGAM. Did anybody ask their parents if they got RhoGAM shots? No? So we'll do the lab probably Monday. So everybody can be here and find out what their blood type is because that's super interesting. So let's talk about like what does it even mean to get the allele? Well, you know, like what causes dominance or recessiveness? It has to do with the genes coding for polypeptides. Most polypeptides end up being proteins. Okay, they get processed into proteins. What sheet is this?
It's G16.
G16. The way we call this the central dogma, DNA to RNA to proteins to traits. So your DNA codes for RNA, the RNA codes for the proteins. Your proteins get expressed as traits. Some of your proteins are like enzymes, some of your proteins are like structural proteins that might give you eye color. some of your proteins are hormones that could turn on a different protein. Like all sorts of craziness goes on. What's the matter?
Wait, is that proteins in between RNA and traits?
Mm-hmm. This is called the central dogma. It's like a really important part of biology. Usually, it used to be just DNA to RNA to proteins, but now we have that proteins get expressed as traits. And the trait could be cystic fibrosis, or it could be blue eyes, or it could be having an extra toe. I'm sorry?
G16.
How do you do split screen on an iPad?
If there's like these three dots on the top, and then like no, like it should be in the middle, like of your screen on the top.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Up there?
I see 3 dots.
My life has just changed.
Also, with Notability, with your eraser, you can make it so that your eraser, like, you hit a line, the whole line deletes. You don't have to, like, go
Yeah.
in super.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
'Cause you
That
were-
I knew.
you were
And,
weak.
or if you do partial or full, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, extra credit for Sarah.
You learn new things every day.
Right? I love that. All right, so let's say we're looking at enzymes. And you have a gene, let's say you're a carrier for the gene that codes for, let's say, the enzyme lactase. Let's not get caught up in lactose intolerance. Let's just pretend. Because lactose intolerance is actually another one that's kind of complicated.
Is that like a real thing?
Mhm.
They just makes their stomach sick.
Yeah, they don't, lactose, it is a real thing. They don't either make enough or they make lactase that's non-functioning.
Isn't it like 80% of Asian people are lactose intolerant? Like why is
Yeah, because it has to do with evolution and whether or not like your ancestors
Wait, 80%?
is a huge percent.
When I
It
was
has to do with which like Irish people like are never lactose intolerant because like their ancestors had cows.
oh wow.
Yeah, it has to do with just evolving.
Asian people have that, like not cows.
We didn't have much guns.
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Also, when I was doing the diabetes thing, there was like a specific treatment that was like a lot more effective in Asian people.
Oh yeah.
Just blood.
Well, it's like the alcohol thing with the alcohol dehydrogenase causing the flush in
Oh, yeah.
people who are of Asian descent. Super interesting. Like that's not, it's only in Asians that they don't have that enzyme. Did you know that?
We don't have what
Wait,
enzymes?
what?
Yeah. Wait, what? I think it's called alcohol dehydrogenase or acetyl alcohol dehydrogenase.
What's that do, Brian?
So it breaks down alcohol into something something.
Oh, like so some people
Acetyl-
cannot.
Can't break it down,
Oh, yeah.
and so because they have this trait, they don't break down alcohol, so they get drunk faster and they get the red cheeks, the red face.
That's why Asians.
It's called the Asian flush.
That's why they. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we had a student caught drinking because of that.
That sucks.
And I think they'd only had like one drink, but their face went whoosh. And their dorm parent happened to be of Asian descent and went, I know what you've been doing.
Oh, that'd be. Oh,
Yeah.
because of your like, that's not even your fault.
Well, the drinking on campus is your fault, yeah. But that other piece is not. Super interesting. So the way that the enzymes work, sometimes if you're a carrier, you have one gene that codes for the normal trait, like functioning, let's say lactase or alcohol dehydrogenase, and you have one gene that doesn't. It codes for non-functioning alcohol dehydrogenase. But the one that's good makes enough that like you never even know that you have the other one. So it masks the fact that you have one functioning gene and the other one doesn't function. So it's dominant because having one is enough. Does that make sense? A person who's recessive has two of the gene that doesn't code for the enzyme properly, and so they don't make that enzyme, and therefore they show whatever that trait is. They're lactose intolerant. Sometimes, if you have one of each, that might mean that you make like half as much, sort of like an incomplete dominance. So you might be like slightly lactose intolerant. So it just really kind of matters which enzyme we're talking about. And this is the same thing for structural things, right? If you have blue eyes, it's because you don't make the pigment to have brown eyes. So the sort of abnormal is the blue eyes. The normal structural enzyme, or not enzyme, structural protein is to give you the pigment, probably to protect your retinas.
How does like evolution work with like genetics?
Yeah, because so my people are from Europe where the sun's rays come in like on an angle, and so I don't need that same level of protection. So, and especially the further north, like if you look at people who are like of Swedish descent or Norwegian, they're like uber blonde, very pale, blue eyes. They just don't have a lot of melanin, because why make it if you don't need it?
Yeah.
But if your people are from the equatorial regions, you better have your eyes protected by melanin, you better have your hair, your skin protected, all of it protected, because if you're not protected, you died before you could have kids of skin cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
The people who developed it didn't die because it was helping them, and people that didn't have it.
Mm-hmm. That's how it works. Yeah.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Survival of those who survive. So, just because an allele is dominant doesn't mean it's better, and it also doesn't mean that it's more common. So, having an extra finger or toe is a dominant allele.
I feel like how is that not like an athletic advantage?
Well, usually they don't work.
Oh, okay. Oh, you said that, right?
Yeah, usually they don't work, so that's not really helpful to have an extra. If it's just hanging off the side of your toe, it would just get in the way. And change your shoe options.
Wait, if it's dominant, shouldn't it be like more common?
So why isn't it common? Let's think back to evolution. Go back 2,000 years. What do you think happened if you were born with an extra finger or an extra
Oh, you were
toe?
a witch.
Oh, you.
She's a witch! You probably didn't mate.
But then nowadays, like,
Nobody cares.
so
Or it gets removed and you never know. So it's becoming more common, actually. So we'll see over time this becoming more common. So here's some pictures.
Is that yellow hand real?
Yes. So that's like a split thumb. It is dominant, but usually the extra digits are not. Like this child on the bottom, those look like working all fingers. It looks like they have two thumbs on that left hand. Can you see that?
Cool.
Yeah.
One like down there.
So 399 individuals out of 400 have only 5 digits. So everybody in this room, unless you were born with extra digits, you are little a, little a. Okay? If you mate with somebody who doesn't have extra digits, your offspring will be little a, little a. But so if you're a carrier, that means you've got extra digits. So 1 out of 400 people, so that probably means one of our Brooksians is a polydactyl.
Probably what?
Polydactyl.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it does sound like a very cool dinosaur. Look at this dude, Hound Dog Taylor. I think he was a...
Guitar. Is that not like...
Yeah, he had a functioning, working extra finger that helped him play guitar.
Whole 12 string.
Right? Pretty cool. When we watch Gattaca, that's like a thing in Gattaca. It's a great movie. All right, we're gonna stop there.
I have to wait so I don't spoil it. but-
Yeah, don't. It's so good.
I don't really like. I'll ask you later.
All right, Tegan and Namia, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
It's like a massive.
Oop. How do I stop this? I thought I was recording. I was. Okay.